are here today to celebrate the commissioning of USS Detroit, the 6th U.S. Navy warship to bear that name, and the 7th in the class of littoral combat ships. The first USS Detroit was captured from the British during the Battle of Lake Erie. The second USS Detroit was a sloop of war and served in 1869. The cruiser USS Detroit served from 1893 to 1905, during which time she participated in the Spanish-American War and a two-year cruise to the Far East. The fourth USS Detroit, a light cruiser, participated in World War II. She was one of the ships that entered Tokyo Bay to accept Japan's unconditional surrender. The last USS Detroit was a fast combat support ship, which was designed to support a carrier battle group with fuel and ammunition. She proudly served the Navy for 35 years and was decommissioned in 2005. The LCS class ship is unique in her design, as the primary mission of the LCS can be changed from surface warfare to anti-submarine warfare to mine warfare simply by changing out the mission module on the ship. The LCS is designed to operate in water too shallow for other Navy ship classes. This class also has a very large flight deck and blazing speed, in excess of 40 knots. It truly is a revolutionary design. The ship before you was christened on November 8th, 2014 at Fincantieri Marinette Marine in Marinette, Wisconsin. Today, she is complete, and we are proud to serve in the newest warship in the United States Navy. This ship's crew is honored to carry the city of Detroit's proud name as we defend America's way of life wherever and whenever we may be called. Our ceremony today is a time-honored tradition which began with the commissioning of our first ship, a captured British schooner, the Margaretta, in 1775. Since then, thousands of ships have undergone the transformation from silent hull to fully alive warship. Our commissioning crew, hereafter known as plank owners, are in formation and ready. We would like to thank Naval Training Center Great Lakes Band and Saluting Battery as they assist us in rendering honors to the Honorable Rick Snyder and the Navy Recruiting District, Michigan Color Guard, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police as they present the colors. Ship's company, attention. Will the guests please rise and remain standing for the arrival of our official party, honors, and the invocation. Ladies and gentlemen, our platform guests. The Reverend Bill Fleming, Rector of Mariners Church of Detroit. Mr. Gary Embry, former crew member of USS Detroit, who will assist us in setting the first watch. Mr. John Paracchio, the USS Detroit Commissioning Committee Chairman. Commander Andy Gold, United States Navy Program Manager Representative, Supervisor of Shipbuilding, Bath Detachment Marinette. Captain Jordy Harrison, United States Navy, Commander, Littoral Combat Ship Squadron 1. Captain Thomas Anderson, United States Navy Program Manager, Littoral Combat Ships. Mr. Francesco Valente, President and CEO of Fincantieri Marine Group. Mr. Joe North, Vice President of Littoral Ships and Systems, Lockheed Martin, Rotary and Mission Systems. Ms. Gloria Valdez, Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Navy, Ships. Rear Admiral John NEAGLEY, United States Navy, Program Executive Officer for Littoral Combat Ships. The Honorable Drew Dilkins, Mayor, City of Windsor, Ontario. The Honorable Mike Duggan, Mayor, City of Detroit, Michigan. Admiral Phil Davidson, United States Navy, Commander, United States Fleet Forces Command. The Honorable Gary Peters, United States Senator, State of Michigan. The Honorable Debbie Stabenow, United States Senator, State of Michigan. Ladies and gentlemen, our ship sponsor, Mrs. Barbara Levin, escorted today by Command Master Chief Ruben Diaz, United States Navy. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Rick Snyder, Governor of the State of Michigan, escorted today by our Commanding Officer, Commander Mike Desmond, United States Navy. Ladies and gentlemen, honors for the Honorable Rick Snyder, Governor of the State of Michigan. Platform, hand, salute. Platform, ready, 2. The band will play "O Canada" and then our national anthem. Present the colors. Platform, hand, salute. Retire the colors. Platform ready to. Ladies and gentlemen, Reverend Bill Fleming will now deliver the invocation.
The building of a ship. Build me straight, O worthy master. Stanch and strong, a goodly vessel that shall overcome all challenges, and with wave and whirlwind will wrestle and wind. The merchant's word come forth and delighted. The master heard, for his heart was in his work, and the heart giveth grace unto every point. The master and his mates, a quiet smile played round their lips. We face as the eddies and the dimples of the tide play round the bows of a ship. The rock is steadily at anchor ride, and with a voice that is full of glee, he answered, ere long we will launch a vessel as goodly and strong and stanch as ever weathered a wintry sea. And first she rolled with nicest skill and art, perfect and finished in every part, and poured at first a little model the master wrought, which should be the larger plan. What the child is to the man, its counterpart in miniature, and grew that which a hand more swift and sure. The greater labor was brought to answer to his inward thought, and all of us give thanks for our God, who rolls our ship with joy. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Fleming. Will the guests please be seated? Ship's company, parade, rest. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Rick SNYDER, Governor of the State of Michigan.
Well, good morning, and welcome to this beautiful Michigan day. On behalf of the state of Michigan, I want to welcome all our guests from out of the state to this wonderful occasion. And for all us Michiganders, this is a special day of pride. It's wonderful being here today with the mayor and the city council members, their great support. It's wonderful to have our U.S. senators here and congressional delegation. And I want to give a special welcome to Barbara Levin and former Senator Levin. It's great to have you with us today. It's also wonderful to have the Mayor of Windsor here and the Consul General. This is about allies and partners working closely together, and I look forward to seeing this ship move across the river for days of visit to Canada. I also want to say thank you to the people that built the ship. We have many wonderful people that built this wonderful vessel. In many respects, you may not know, this is very much a Michigan-made vessel too. It was built on the Menominee River, right across the border from Menominee, Michigan. And you can actually see it being built. And a large portion of the workforce that built this ship were Michiganders. In fact, we had over 55 other suppliers contribute to making this ship, so it's very much Michigan-made, and it's great to see it become the USS Detroit. Now, my special thanks really go out to the members of the U.S. Navy. It is truly special having you here in Detroit, having you here in Michigan. You keep us safe. You protected us for so many years. Just 2 years ago, we had the celebration of the War of 1812. You've been protecting us for over 200 years. You go in harm's way, and we owe you a special thanks. The work you've historically done, you're doing today, you're going to do in the future, and all your families for the wonderful support they give you. So thank you so much for that wonderful contribution to keeping us safe. Now, a brief note on the USS Detroit itself. It's an honor to have a ship named after this wonderful city. And again, there couldn't be a better time. When you look at this vessel, you see innovation, leading-edge combat vessel that's leading the future of where we're going with the U.S. Navy and the U.S. military. But it also represents the comeback of Detroit. The city is coming back, and to be represented by this fine vessel is a great representation of how we're all moving forward to a bright future. So thank you for the opportunity to name this leading-edge vessel, the USS Detroit. My last words are, though, for Captain Desmond and all the people that will be crew members on this wonderful ship. God bless the United States of America, the state of Michigan, in particular the USS Detroit, and all the crew members that will serve on this ship. We wish you safe voyage and productive times, and thank you for your great service to our country. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Governor Snyder. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Mike Duggan, Mayor, City of Detroit, Michigan.
Well, good morning to a beautiful day in Detroit. It is a great honor for our city to have the commissioning of the USS Detroit right here in the city of its name. And the Admiral was telling me beforehand that it's a rarity that a ship is commissioned in its name city. And I want to say thank you to the Navy Department, and let's give a big round of applause to the commissioning committee that did a huge amount of work to make this possible. Of course, the USS Detroit has a long and storied history, goes back more than 200 years. The first USS Detroit was actually a British ship captured by the U.S. Navy more than 200 years ago in the War of 1812. And over the last 200 years, through most of our country's history, there's been a USS Detroit protecting us. And with today's commissioning of this combat ship, the USS Detroit has a fresh start, which is pretty appropriate in the city of Detroit right now. And so I know the ship and the crew were very enthusiastically received all week long. It was the talk of Detroit. I hope you felt welcomed, and I just want all the men and women who will be serving on this ship to know that wherever you go in the world, the best wishes and the prayers of the people of the city of Detroit will always be with you. God bless you.
Thank you, Mayor Duggan. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Joe North, Vice President of Littoral Ships and Systems, Lockheed Martin Corporation.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, honored guests. What a great Navy Day we have in front of us, and what a great day for the city of Detroit. Before I begin my remarks, I would like to pause and recognize and applaud all of the United States Navy officers and sailors and those in the other services that are with us today, and thank you for your service. We would not be here with you today if it weren't for the steadfast partnership our industry team has enjoyed with you. I would also like to say congratulations and thank you to our ship sponsor, Mrs. Barbara Levin, Commander Desmond, LCS Crew 103, and the commissioning committee, to all the volunteers and worked tirelessly to make today's event a success. It's my privilege today to represent the industry team of Lockheed Martin, Fincantieri, Marinette Marine, Gibbs & Cox, that designed and built this remarkable warship you see before us today. The industry team is invested in the LCS program and this ship. It took over 1 million hours to construct the ship, and I would be remiss if I did not recognize our 12,750 dedicated workers and suppliers, especially the 2,000 plus men and women that go in and out of the gates at Fincantieri Marine every day. Their hard work over the past 5 years has made it possible to transform raw steel into the capable warship we have at the pier. While our team's shipyard is geographically located in Packer country, as the mayor has already pointed out, I'm proud to say, and the governor, I'm proud to say that almost half the shipbuilders hail from the Upper Peninsula of this great state of Michigan. You have Michigan labor, heart and soul that was part of building this Detroit, and you're celebrating her commissioning in the namesake city. That's not a feat many can claim. As you have heard, this is the sixth warship to bear the name of the Motor City. Since we are in Detroit, it's only fitting I take a moment to tell you about this year's model. The 2016 Detroit is a flexible, capable, tough, and resilient surface combatant. She is also a workhorse, one tasked with carrying out the essential missions of anti-surface warfare, anti-submarine warfare, and mine warfare, along with many other missions that these talented and experienced crews demand of her. The 2016 model has a stealth and sporty look, as you can see, as well as the speed, performance, and horsepower of a muscle car. She is fast and agile, and she is ready to handle all that she is asked to do. Detroit can rapidly be reconfigured and is capable of hauling everything from MH-60 Romeo Seahawk helicopters to unmanned vehicles that can operate above and below the sea. This Detroit operates in only 14 feet of water and cruises fuel efficiently on her diesels. But when required or summoned to do so, with her full 115,000 shaft horsepower, she will move at speeds at over 40 knots, and she can do that in under 2 minutes. Soon, the USS Detroit and her crews will be called upon to serve the interests of the United States around the world. We take great pride in knowing that the USS Detroit will so capably represent the United States and the great city of Detroit. Commander Desmond, Commander HYDE, members of LCS Crew 103, on behalf of the Lockheed Martin LCS industry team, it's an extraordinary honor to be in your presence today and to play a role in supporting you in your critical missions. The power of this industry team stands behind the Navy and the crews that will sail upon this ship through her career. We wish you Godspeed, fair winds, and following seas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. North. Ladies and gentlemen, Rear Admiral John NEAGLEY, Program Executive Officer, Littoral Combat Ships.
Well, good morning and welcome. What a beautiful morning out here on the waterfront. Today we gather to engage in one of the most time-honored naval traditions, the commissioning of a new warship, the USS Detroit, LCS-7. Honored and distinguished guests, citizens of Detroit, and the great shipbuilders of Fincantieri, Marinette Marine, and our entire Lockheed Martin LCS industry team, welcome and thank you for your continuing support of our Navy. I want to offer a special note of thanks and appreciation to Mrs. Levin, Detroit's sponsor, for her dedication and support of the crew and their families. Mrs. Levin, your kindness, your grace will now forever be part of Detroit's DNA. I also want to especially thank the commissioning committee who have tirelessly worked to plan this great ceremony today. Your pride, professionalism, and attention to detail is reflected in every aspect of this ceremony. Thank you for the extra effort you made in making this day so special. You know, shipbuilding has always been part of our nation's history. From the first 6 frigates to USS Detroit today, shipbuilding is in our nation's blood. And I can tell you there's no prouder profession or more important work, and there's no better shipbuilding team than our incredible partners from Fincantieri, Marinette Marine, and Lockheed Martin. They have built us a magnificent warship, one that will carry the pride and tenacity of this city of Detroit across the world seas, protecting the liberties we hold so dear. Detroit is a name with a long history in our Navy, and this ship is the first Detroit since 1813 to dock in her namesake city. Our newest Detroit will enter the fleet and will forge an enduring legacy in the coming years as it represents U.S. interests abroad. She is a warship with a revolutionary design. She is built from the keel up to leverage the power of modularity and unmanned systems. a ship to ensure our preeminence in sea control, a ship that will enable distributed lethality, a ship that helps us engage and build partnerships with our friends across the globe, and a ship that will provide tremendous flexibility to our combatant commandants in an ever-changing security environment. Commander Desmond, Commander HYDE, congratulations to you and your crew as Detroit is officially enters the fleet today. I know you'll forge new traditions and embark with swift vigilance upon many new missions and challenges ahead. And I also know you'll remember the real combat power from any ship comes from America's best and brightest, the incredible men and women who fight her. And I know under your leadership, Detroit will make her mark in the fleet. Thank you, and God bless Detroit, her leaders, and her crew.
Thank you, Admiral NEAGLEY. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Gary Peters, United States Senator, State of Michigan.
Well, good morning, everybody, and a fabulous morning it is indeed. You know, I'm truly honored to be here today to celebrate the commissioning of this incredible ship, the USS Detroit. You know, from its founding as a small fur trading post along the river, the city of Detroit has risen to enormous heights. Detroit's success was built on the prosperity brought by access to water, powering the trade and commerce that allowed Detroit to flourish. Detroit's workers built the automotive industry that transformed America. And during World War II, Detroit was the heart of the arsenal of democracy, building the planes, the tanks, and the vehicles that carried allies to victory and created the American middle class. The industrial might and talent of Michigan workers continues to this day, and I'm proud, like I'm sure each and every one of you in the crowd, that Michiganders helped build this magnificent ship. America's fighting forces around the world will be successful in challenging times as a result of the ingenuity and work that went in to this incredible ship. The passion that is in Detroit and its workers in the state of Michigan also shines in the ship's sponsor, Barbara Levin, a Detroit native. Throughout her life, Barbara has been a strong ally for America's service members and their families, along with her husband, my friend and mentor, Senator Carl Levin. As she helps launch the USS Detroit into service, Barbara will continue that role by staying engaged with the crew members and their families. As the U.S. Navy's newest littoral combat ship, the USS Detroit is returning today to the water that helped its namesake city thrive. This ship is designed to confront the rapidly evolving security threats facing our country, whether they are along the coastline or in the open water, to preserve access to the waterways that are essential to the success and to the security of the United States and our allies. As a former lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy Reserve, I've had the honor of serving with many of the brave men and women that make America's fighting forces the strongest in the world. This ship is a shining example of the forward-looking 21st century technology that the United States Navy is leading to develop and deploy. The same advanced engineering and manufacturing know-how that powers this vessel is also fueling Detroit's economic resurgence. There is no better way to honor the spirit, the resilience, the determination of the people and the city of Detroit than by adding the USS Detroit to our Navy's fleet. I'd like to say congratulations to everyone who has had a hand in preparing the ship for service, and to the sailors aboard the USS Detroit. I wish you Godspeed, and may you find fair winds and following seas.
Thank you, Senator Peters. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Debbie Stabenow, United States Senator, State of Michigan.
Good morning. What a joy to be here this morning on this pure Michigan, pure Detroit day. And I have to start with a personal thought. My father was in the Navy, and I wish he were alive today to see what we are doing. He would be so excited, particularly about the power and the speed and the flexibility and the agility of this incredible vessel. It's great to be here with all of you, and certainly with our governor and Senator Peters and Admiral Davidson and all of those who are our leadership and commanders and crew in the Navy, our Mayor Duggan, Mayor Dilkins, and I have to particularly join in thanking this wonderful ship sponsor, Barbara Levin, and I think it's so appropriate that not only that she is the sponsor, but that she and her life partner, our wonderful friend and incredible Senator Carl Levin, who have fought for Detroit every single day of their lives, would be here with a ship named Detroit. Carl, it's wonderful to see you. It was Teddy Roosevelt who said that we shall take leave to be strong upon the seas, in the future as in the past. And we're here today about the future because this Freedom class ship meets that challenge. And as has been said, we are so proud that so much of it was built with the hands of Michigan workers. This is actually the vessel that is the 6th to bear the name Detroit. Most vessels only are named once for a city, maybe twice. I think it means something that the name Detroit has been used now 6 times. In the past, its predecessors have served our nation with distinction. Their crews have brought honor to our city. And this, as has been said, is another rebirth, both for the name and in many ways this great city. Like the city of Detroit, this ship is tough, resilient, and in good hands. And while both the city and this ship will face challenges in the future, I know that they will meet those challenges and continue to sail forward with strength and effectiveness. So to everyone involved, I know you join me in saying to the captain, to the crew, to everyone, God bless you, continued safety. Thank you for keeping us safe, for loving America, for your patriotism, and we wish you Godspeed.
Thank you, Senator Stabenow. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Gloria Valdez, Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Navy Ships.
Governor Snyder, Senator Levin, and our sponsor, Mrs. Barbara Levin, government officials, the commissioning committee, distinguished guests, and to all of you who have come to Detroit to witness the commissioning of this magnificent ship, thank you and good morning. I'm delighted to be here representing the Secretary of the Navy, Ray Mabus, at the commissioning of this great littoral combat ship, Detroit. As we celebrate today, I would like to remember and say thank you to the thousands of deployed sailors, Marines, soldiers, airmen, and their families who are sacrificing so much to keep this great nation free. And to those veterans in the audience today, thank you for your service to our nation. I want to add a special thanks to our sponsor, Mrs. Barbara Levin. Thank you for your commitment to our Navy and this ship. As a native of Detroit, you are the ideal representative of this great city, and it is an honor to have you as Detroit's sponsor. I would also like to recognize and thank the Society of Sponsors President, Ms. Linda Winters, for your tireless efforts in organizing the distinguished ladies who have taken part in the time-honored tradition of sponsoring naval ships, including the Detroit. Sponsors play a unique role for the Navy. They become a lasting part of each ship's history. While the crew of the ship will change many times over the course of the ship's life, the sponsor remains the same. Today, we honor and congratulate the ship's crew who will take the ship to sea in defense of our freedom, while we also honor and congratulate the men and women of Lockheed Martin and Fincantieri Marinette Marine who built this vital tool of sea power and technological capability, many of whom reside right here in this great state of Michigan. Let's hear it for the Yoopers who are here. Detroit is the fourth Freedom variant LCS, built a stone's throw away from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan in Marinette, Wisconsin. You have labored tirelessly to build this extraordinarily capable ship with several more right behind her, ready and equipped to defend our freedoms around the world. And you have proven that hard work, perseverance, and teamwork produce outstanding results. Thank you and congratulations on a job well done. As Detroit is a shining example of our nation's drive for excellence and honors the memory of the over 2 centuries of ships and crew who proudly served our nation under the namesake Detroit previously, so is the city of Detroit. Detroit's men and women have stood the test of time and bravely responded when the call to duty was made to defend our country. The strengths and spirit of those patriots continues with this commissioning today. Commander Desmond, thank you and your crew for the hard work in preparing this ship today and sailing to this magnificent city of Detroit. Our nation has trusted in you, our finest surface combatant, and charged you with preparing your crew for sea and taking Detroit around the world. What an awesome task. But I am confident that you and your crew are ready for the challenge, as you will have the unwavering support of your sponsor and your namesake city, Detroit. Officers and crew of Detroit, as you bring your ship to life today, you are blessed with a wonderful sponsor, Mrs. Barbara Levin. She has bestowed you with grace and responsibility. Take heed, serve honorably, and protect the seas. To all who are present today, you are indeed privileged to witness the introduction of this fine ship into our Navy. May God bless her, her crew, her sponsor. May God bless the United States of America. And now it is my honor to introduce our keynote speaker. Admiral Phil Davidson, a native of St. Louis, Missouri, is the commander of United States Fleet Forces Command, based in Norfolk, Virginia. He mans, trains, and equips over 125 ships, 1,000 aircraft, and 103,000 active duty service members and government employees. As commander of U.S. Fleet Forces, he is responsible for providing combat-ready forces to the numbered fleets and combatant commanders around the globe in support of U.S. national interests. During his past assignments, he commanded the U.S. Navy's 6th Fleet, the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group, the USS Gettysburg Guided Missile Cruiser, and the USS Taylor Guided Missile Frigate. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Davidson.
Good morning, Detroiters and Michiganders. It's a great pleasure to be here today. Thank you for the very warm welcome. And thank you, Reverend Fleming, for your benediction. We appreciate that a lot. That'll be a prayer that sticks with the ship for a long time. I'm grateful to speak to all of you this morning along this magnificent setting here on the Detroit River. I met many folks last night downtown, and I must say I'm impressed with the leadership and the people of Detroit and the energy that comes with it. We thank you for the outstanding support for this commissioning. It is a rare occasion that a namesake ship gets to commission in its host city, and it will bind that ship and this city together for all of its service for 25 to 30 years to come. So thank you for that. I'd like to especially thank Mrs. Barbara Levin for her sponsorship of the vessel, her kindness, her interest and her sponsorship has been incredibly warm and embracing for the crew, and we look forward to working with you over the years to come. Thank you as well to the Levin family, who I know will help sustain this relationship over time. So, to all the distinguished and honored guests here today, thank you for joining us. The country knows Detroit as the Motor City, but true Detroiters know that Detroit is a maritime city, rich in its own naval history. You should know that your Navy draws much of its inspiration from the very resolute commanders and sailors who led our Navy during the War of 1812, the Second War of American Independence. One of those resolute leaders was Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry, a middle name if there ever was one, and the hero of the Battle of Lake Erie. Perhaps you know the story, and I'm sorry to recount it to all those here from Windsor, but in August of 1812, the British had possession of Detroit. Commodore Perry, in his flagship the Lawrence, the very next summer, and commanding a force of some 9 ships with hundreds of sailors, midshipmen, officers, and sharpshooters from the Army, escaped the British blockade of the harbor at Erie, Pennsylvania, sailed up the lake, and established his headquarters at Put-in Bay, just south of here. And on September 10th, 1813, Perry engaged the British. The battle was extraordinarily violent. The British concentrated their fires and rendered Perry's flagship ineffective, killing or wounding much of his crew. But Perry resolutely transferred himself with his crew, his remaining crew, to the brig Niagara to continue the fight. Soon after, Perry sailed the Niagara into the middle of the British line and decimated their command and control. Now, decimating their command and control is a kind phrase we use in this modern day and age to talk about the violence that exists when you kill the leadership on a ship at its control stations. And within a few hours, Perry and his crew had captured all 6 of the British ships, half of their sailors, and established U.S. control of Lake Erie, therefore able to deny the British their lines of communication, that is to say their supplies, their logistics, and the orders that come from back in England here to Detroit. Subsequently, and only subsequently, Major General William Henry Harrison, the future 9th President of the United States at that time, was able to take back Detroit. This is the same spirit, the spirit of Oliver Hazard Perry, the resolute spirit in which the nation and the Navy expects the men and women of Detroit, the newest ship of the line, to conduct themselves, to be ready to fight and win in contested or denied waters, wherever those might be, and all around the world. As I said at the beginning, Perry is one of the heroes that helps define us as a service. And today is indeed about service, the contribution to a cause higher than self, and in the Navy, it is the effort to see the mission through even with undaunting odds. It is about the service of this fine ship, the service of those who designed and built her, those that will support her throughout her lifetime in repairs and upgrades, and the sailors and officers who will operate and make it realize its full combat capability. And from the initial design of the ship on through to the day of decommissioning, in the many years in the future, the American people play an important and intricate role in the life of a United States ship. After all, the Navy does not sail without the contribution of commercial industry, of academia, and without the architects, engineers, the innovators, and the intellectuals that truly power us. I frequently say that the Navy stands on the shoulders of these giants. And when I travel around even the Midwest, from Marinette, Wisconsin, where the ship was built, to Crane, Indiana, and Louisville, Kentucky, where they test and develop our weapon systems and ordnance, or to repair shipyards up and down the coast, the East Coast of the United States, my own haunts, I witness a great deal of pride of the people that contribute to the United States Navy. And rightly so. Their work, their service, that is what creates your Navy. They are incredibly important to our Navy's capability and its readiness, laying the foundation to protect America around the globe. Ultimately, that service, the energy, the innovation, and the effort is made whole on this day, the day of commissioning. The authorization of this ship to act in its prescribed manner, its charge, if you will. When a ship is commissioned today, she is placed in service of the American people and is given the charge to do one thing, to execute the Navy's mission. And that mission is simple, exquisite in its very short words in Title 10 of the United States Code, my favorite piece of legislation in all of the federal government. And that is for the United States Navy to be prepared to conduct prompt, sustained combat, incident to operations at sea. Those are beautiful words in my books, and they guide me and they guide all of these sailors on their journey. You all know the prompt part. Your Navy is forward, deployed around the world every day to reassure allies, to deter our adversaries, to secure our U.S. interests abroad, and indeed to defend this country. Your Navy does more than provide the leaders of this country options. Your Navy depends and provides the credibility, that is to say, the necessary combat power forward that gives our adversaries pause. Let me tell you, every day that our adversaries get out of bed in the morning, look out their window, and see the United States Navy on the horizon, even over the horizon, and sees all that your Navy can do, and then says, today is not our day, well, we win, and that is a day that we love to have. But the sustained part of that Navy mission, that's the truly hard part. It is in this vein that the whole of our mission is demonstrated, in the day-to-day effort, the months and the years, indeed the 25 years that this ship will be in commission, to do things right and make the fleet, in my case, and the ship, in Captain Desmond's case, its systems and its sailors, all of it, ready. And when I say ready, I mean exactly what it says in Webster's. Prepared mentally and physically for action, willingly disposed, indeed, as Perry demonstrated, willingly disposed to fight and win. It is the totality of this idea of service that together, we as American citizens and your Navy make the United States Navy ready and make it ready to fight and win. The capability of the LCS class is known, it's been articulated here today. Small, fast, highly maneuverable, with the latest in sensors and technologies, swift and vigilant, much like the motto. The LCS will be able to bring the combat power necessary to reinforce our control of the sea and in waters our ships were not always able to sail in the past. With its modular design, the LCS replaces slower, more specialized ships whose critical vulnerability was they could not get to the fight or sustain in the fight. These ships will get there swiftly. In the years to come, we will add more capability. And many of the ship's functions, you should know, will be performed by carried vehicles, that is to say unmanned vehicles or remotely operated vehicles, above the sea, on the sea, and below the sea. But the capability, the ship, despite all that technology, well, it's not much without its crew. As you will soon witness, the charge begins when these sailors bring it to life on Mrs. Levin's order. Sailors like Petty Officer Matthew Harkless from Pontiac and Chief Petty Officer Franklin Fielder, born and raised here in Detroit, and indeed all the men and women that will crew the Detroit. Your Navy sailors, I want you to know, do incredible things with what you, the American people, give them. They develop our operating concepts, and they effectively use the equipment you give them to meet the mission. These Detroit sailors, the commissioning crew, they will have the initial responsibility and the extra responsibility to imbue the standards, the traditions, and the fighting spirit of Detroit. To the crew of Detroit, make no mistake about it, the culture you create in the next few months will permeate the Detroit and remain with her throughout her years of service. That may seem a bit strange to you right now, that what you do in these early stages will matter in 25 years. But make no mistake about it, it absolutely does matter. You will be part of the development of this ship's institutional knowledge, of its procedures and tactics, and you must not only pass this knowledge on to the next crew or the next generation of sailors, but you must refine and adapt your knowledge and keep the ship current, lethal, and credible for whatever threats will come. And throughout it all, every new commanding officer, every new crew member, every new threat, your mission and the reason for your service will remain the same: to make it ready, to make it prepared to conduct prompt and sustained combat incident to operations at sea. Your service and the performance we demand and the day-to-day grind that you put into it is what makes our capability credible and our deterrence effective. And when our enemies will not be deterred, you will be, must be, and we expect you to be ready, indeed willingly disposed to fight and win. All of us here expect you to do this right, in accordance with what is right, proper, with the highest standards of professionalism and accountability. You must set those standards, follow the proper tactics, the techniques, and the procedures we put in place, even when no one is looking. And of course, always, always be men and women of integrity. And finally, Detroit, you must be resolute, like Perry, determined, even under withering fire, bold and steady. Your service is not just a moment in the spotlight, it is the everyday, the day in and day out that you meet expectations, balance and mitigate the risks. It's that day-to-day grind, whether you serve in Detroit for just 4 months or for 4 years or for its lifetime. And it's when things seem most impossible, like with Perry and his crew, that you will look deep within yourself, find that resolve, and persevere. Much is expected of you, but I know that each and every one of you is ready and eager to take on the task. So, for all our honored guests and distinguished visitors here today, Detroiters and Michiganders especially, thank you for your service. Thank you for being here. You honor this ship and her crew with your presence here today. Now, to the reason we are indeed here. Commander Desmond, with your officers and crew, in just a few minutes, you will be charged with the authority, the responsibility, and the accountability to take this ship into harm's way. And your mission, as discussed, is quite simple. You will help to maintain the safety, security, and liberty that the American people enjoy each and every day. And for that, you can be very proud. Proud to be part of this great Navy, and proud to be a Detroit sailor. Thank you all for coming today, and thank you all for the service you have provided to this great nation in lending your proud name and your effort and your energy to the good ship Detroit. We intend to make you proud of it. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Admiral Davidson. Sir, I'd be honored if you would place Detroit in commission.
On behalf of the Secretary of the Navy and for the President of the United States, I hereby place United States ship Detroit in commission. May God bless and guide this warship and all who shall sail in her.
Thank you, sir. Executive Officer, hoist the colors, and the commissioning pennant.
All right, sir. Detroit, attention. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. I direct your attention to the ship's mast as we hoist the colors and the commissioning pennant. Quartermaster, hoist the colors and the commissioning pennant.
Aye, aye, sir.
Captain, the colors and commissioning pennant are flying over USS Detroit.
Very well.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
I will now read my orders. From Chief of Naval Personnel to Commander Michael Desmond, United States Navy. Subject, Bureau of Naval Personnel Orders Number 1545, dated 03 September 2015. When directed, detach current duty and proceed to Pre-Commissioning Unit Detroit for duties in conjunction with fitting out. Upon commissioning of USS Detroit, report for duty as commanding officer. Admiral Davidson, USS Detroit is in commission, and I am in command.
Very well. Congratulations.
Thanks, sir. Executive officer, set the watch.
All right, sir. Officer of the deck, set the first watch.
Aye, aye, sir.
The officer of the deck is the commanding officer's direct representative, and while on watch is responsible for the safety and smooth operation of the ship and her crew. The long glass is the traditional symbol of an officer of the deck's authority and a ship of the line. We are honored to have Mr. Gary Hembry here today to assist us in setting our first watch. Gary was a crew member of the previous USS Detroit. He will pass our ship's long glass on to our first officer of the deck, Ensign James Wade of Georgetown, Texas. The Chief Petty Officer of the watch is Chief Franklin Fielder of South Bend, Indiana. The messenger of the watch is Petty Officer Matthew Harkless of Pontiac, Michigan. And the boatswain mate of the watch is Petty Officer James Rutherford II of Galveston, Texas.
Station the watch. On deck, Section 1.
Sir, the watch is set.
Very well. Captain, the watch is set.
Very well. Ghost Riders, attention to the sailor's creed. I am a United States sailor.
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, and I will obey the orders of those appointed over me. I represent the fighting spirit of the Navy and those who've gone before me to defend freedom and democracy around the world. I proudly serve my country's Navy combat team with honor, courage, and commitment. I'm committed to excellence and fair treatment of all.
We are delighted to have our sponsor, Mrs. Barbara Levin, here with us today. Mrs. Levin christened this ship in Marinette, Wisconsin on October 18, 2014. Barbara, I would be honored if you would join me and give the order to man our ship and bring her to life.
For more than 4 years, I have had the honor and privilege of getting to know this great ship and our great Navy. I have learned so much about the USS Detroit and what the men and women of our Navy do every day to defend our nation and represent our values around the world. Commander Desmond, I know that you and your crew have felt Detroit's immense pride that you will carry the name of our city to distant shores. Do know that your ship's sponsor and her hometown will always have the USS Detroit, her crew, and her crew's families in our hearts and in our prayers. And now it is the moment for the time-honored commissioning declaration. Officers and crew of USS Detroit, man our ship and bring her to life.
Ladies and gentlemen, the crew of USS Detroit salutes you. We are proud to serve in your great Navy. Ready, two. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Captain, USS Detroit is manned and ready.
Very well. Commodore Harrison, USS Detroit is manned and ready and reports for duty.
Very well, Captain Desmond. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Admiral Davidson requests permission to break your flag, sir. Very well, sir. Executive Officer, break the flag of the Commander, United States Fleet Forces Command.
Aye, sir. Quartermaster, break the flag of Commander, United States Fleet Forces Command.
Aye, aye, sir.
Captain, the flag of Commander, United States Fleet Forces Command is flying over USS Detroit.
Very well.
Ladies and gentlemen, Commander Michael Desmond, Commanding Officer, United States Ship Detroit, LCS 7.
Detroit, parade, rest. So this is pretty cool, huh? Not a bad way to spend a Saturday. Well, thank you to all the distinguished platform guests and everyone in the audience today for making it. And also thank you to those that are out there on Atwater Street. Hope you can hear me, and thanks so much for being here. It's an honor to spend the day with you. So really, thank you to everyone who made this day possible. There's a lot of work that went into to getting the ship here, to building the ship, to making this event possible, to coordinating it. Everyone that had a hand in it, sincere thank you from the bottom of my heart and from the crew of USS Detroit. Thank you also to the cities of Marinette, Wisconsin, building this magnificent warship and being my and my crew's home away from home for 5 months. Also, thank you to the cities of Windsor, Canada, and Detroit, Michigan. The hospitality, the support, the love is palpable, and it's astonishing. We have, I think, what is the foundation for an enduring and an exceptional and a one-of-a-kind ship and namesake city relationship, one that will endure for decades, and I am honored, humbled, and proud to be part of it. Thank you also to the Ghost Riders, my crew. This is a fantastic crew, and just one example, one story that epitomizes who we are. I want to tell a quick story about Petty Officer Aaron McNabb, damage controlman, one of the most junior sailors on the ship. So he's only on board a couple months, and we're sailing, I believe it was the Freedom or the Fort Worth. And he's on his watch roving through the engineering spaces, probably pretty wide-eyed, probably a little tired from standing a late watch, and he comes across a major fuel oil leak in one of the main engineering spaces. A piece of equipment had ruptured, and fuel oil was spilling into the bilges. That is a terrifying moment, and a situation that it could have turned very ugly very quickly, and not many of us would have been here from the crew to share this day with you. But Petty Officer McNabb very calmly took the actions that he was supposed to take, reported the situation to his supervisor on watch, and not to over-exaggerate, but he saved the ship that day. And that is just one example of what these men and women do, sometimes with very little sleep, sometimes with very few thank yous from their shipmates, even from their captain. But that's what they do day in and day out, and that's what's allowed us to sail this ship and ships like her and do what we do. So thank you to him, and thank you to the rest of the crew. The Ghost Riders, these are 70, a small crew for a ship this size. 70 of the finest men and women anywhere in the Navy, anywhere in America. And I couldn't be prouder to be their shipmate. I couldn't be prouder to be their captain. They are the best crew, and I'm truly blessed. I also want to thank my friends and family. Folks out here in the audience, there's about 30 of them all together. Quite a group traveling from Rochester, New York, and places like Cherry Valley, New York, and Sharon Springs. I think there are a few here from Sharon Springs, my parents. My children, Patrick, Carrie, and Emma, right here near the front row. Raise your hand, guys. That's a good-looking group, isn't it? Patrick, Carrie, and Emma, I'm so proud of you. I love you so much. Thank you for being here. My mom, Patty Desmond, up here near the front row also, and my dad, Sheriff Tony Desmond. I'm sure, if he hasn't already, I'm sure my dad will get a chance to talk to each and every one of you before you leave. And he'll probably invite you on the ship for a tour, too. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for everything. And of course, for Liz, front and center, look at this. You've come a long way, Liz. She is beautiful, and it's a beautiful day, and thank you, Liz, for everything you've done. As I've said before, I said it at my change of command ceremony, Liz has been the captain of our family for years. So as you can see, I'm blessed in every regard. I've got the best ship, I've got the best namesake city, I've got the best crew, I've got the best family, I've got the best wife. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of the ceremony, the rest of the day, and God bless each of you, and thank you so much for being here. And one last thing, go Red Wings.
Ship's company, attention. Will the guests please rise? Reverend Fleming will now lead us in the benediction.
For one fair vision ever led us along until this day, down the waste waters day and night, and still we followed where she will lead, in hope to gain again upon her flight. Her face was evermore so clean and so seen, and fixed upon the fair sea line. But each man murmured, "O my queen, I follow as I make thee mine in this ship." Let us pray. Almighty God, let us unite our prayers in seeking your blessings upon this ship and all who serve her, that she may sail under God's providence and protection. Amen.